I think anybody that rises above the absolute struggle survival mode within life, that these people that get an opportunity to think and reflect about life, they will unquestionably go through an existential angst, a kind of existential suffering almost. Suffering seems like a harsh word for me to use, but it is true. It is a kind of turmoil. Everybody's going through it. That has, if you're not submerged in just simply trying to survive, if you're trying to just simply survive in the world, then your mind doesn't have the leisure. It doesn't have the opportunity to really dabble in these affairs. But the moment you do, you rise above that. You know, you've got something going. You could be in life or whatever it is. You start to contemplate about life. What am I doing? What is the purpose? Why do I feel a restlessness? I feel an unease going on. And we as humans, we have that within us. We have this kind of this turbulent aspect to ourselves, which sometimes manifests itself as a self-sabotaging element almost. But that's a different discussion. So people start to question, what am I doing in life? Why am I not feeling at ease? Why am I not feeling at peace with myself? So if you in your life happen to be in many, let's say, in certain atmospheres that are non-religious, like let's say you work in, like her, she works in an entertainment industry, or if you work in, I don't know, you could just be submerged in work, like you work in a club, or somebody works in, I don't know, they run a, even if it's not like so entertaining, they could just be, they're drowning in business, in commerce. Everything is about business, negotiation, money, 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 money. Everything is about that. So what happens is, because they're not associated with religion, there's an assumption that that may be the cause for my restlessness. So you see, people then assume that the reason for this restlessness is my distance from religion. Now don't get me wrong, I'd like to add a caveat here. Not all businesses or not all occupations are the same. Some may trigger more heightened angst than others. So for example, you could be a doctor, which could be very stressful, but it's also kind of rewarding. Because but then you might be fed up with the bureaucracy. But being an actor or being somebody in an entertainment industry, there's always a huge facade anyway. It's all about, it's deceptive, it's never really true, you're always being fake, you're always being constantly fake to the public. And everybody behind the scenes is always kind of cutthroat. In any kind of entertainment industry, you can imagine that people will always be cutthroat behind the scenes. They'll be very cruel, there'll be very kind of there'll be a lot of bickering, a lot of poison, a lot of toxicity. So living in that for a young person would be much worse than just being in let's say, completely submerged in business. But still, any kind of field that you're submerged in, and if you feel the angst, you may think the reason for this is my distance from religion. And a lot of people do that, and they then completely give up everything to come to kind of embark on this ship of religion. Now, the issue is, any kind of sudden whole transition will always bring some peace of mind. So when you make a transition, like let's say you take people like Cat Stevens, Yusuf Islam. When he made a transition from being a kind of a huge, massively popular singer into Islam, into a spiritual path, naturally any kind of transition into something spiritual will bring some sense of calm. That's inevitable. But the question is, 1 year from today, 2 years from today, that angst will return, because that angst is part of the journey. We have to understand that we are this kind of, this trouble that we carry with us. This is part of being human. This is that restlessness that Allah has placed within insan. That Allah mentions that that we have created insan min ajal, that he's created from this kind of unease, and will never truly, I mean, maybe some people in life, a minority of people, will be at absolute peace, but this is part of the journey. And that sense of, I need a goal, or I need something. I mean, that can be a good thing. It can drive us towards something. But I feel, this is my personal thought, I feel that sometimes this ship of religion that we think is the salvation isn't necessarily what it seems to be. It is often a mirage. That said, I want to clarify here that yes, some industries are more ruthless than others, and some industries are very toxic. So I can imagine that the entertainment industry is very highly toxic compared to something like being in the medical industry, which I still believe would be toxic, but maybe not as toxic as. So some are more than others. So I accept that if you calm down in whatever you're doing, you will always find a sense of peace. But is it that by jumping on, like I gave the example of Cat Stevens, who many decades later then resorted to music, and I think I think personally it's a great job that he went back to music, but it's a shame that he could have conveyed his message to millions. I mean, when he left the music industry, I never used to listen to him. I mean, I probably wasn't born at that age when he was in his peak. But I feel that at that stage he had millions of fans who, I don't mean preaching, but just a human message to them. He could have worked wonders. But now when he returned to music, I'm sure most of his fans from that age have either probably, they must be really old and they don't really constitute that scene anymore. So, and the younger people don't know who he is, and things have moved on. So I don't know. I think these things are tough decisions for people. Personally, I would have thought that it's probably better to to keep representing Muslims, to be a part of a certain industry, and to show. I want to also emphasize this point. That look, we all feel this turmoil. It's like. I was responding to somebody messaging me from Kashmir actually today on this issue, and I mentioned this line of Ghalib, that this restlessness, bekhudi be sabab nahi Ghalib, kuch to hai jiski pardadari hai, that this restlessness is not without any reason, Ghalib, that there is something that we're onto, that this is a cover for, a veneer. That insan, we have this within us. And I think that this, and coming back to what I said earlier on, I think sometimes this restlessness that we have, it can lead to a sabotaging kind of aside to us as well. And this, what some Muslims will, in Muslim culture, they will divide between the nafs, stemming from the Quran, quoting Yusuf alayhi salam, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي. I don't justify or claim innocence for myself, for my nafs. Inna nafsa la ammaratun bisu. That the nafs is something that will just always drag me down. It will make me kind of sabotage things. So you have, even if you look at psychology, people like Freud looking at the id, the ego, and the superego, dividing these things into that kind of nafs, that same sabotaging kind of culture, something that drives you. And in psychoanalysis, Freud spoke of what is come to be known as the death principle and the pleasure principle. So the pleasure principle is what drives us. And the death principle, it's this restlessness that we have. And the irony is that the restlessness will only stop once we're dead. It doesn't, see, that's the irony. So it's that, hence it was kind of termed the death principle. It kind of drives people to there. And we see that in other cultures, even that have then made gods out of this. Like if you look at Hinduism, the trio that they have, the main, you know, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, that you will see that the creating God, the God that puts something into existence, Vishnu, the one who preserves, but then Shiva, the destruction, like the sabotaging, because you can see how humans have projected this feeling out there onto things that, and you've got the line of Ghalib where he says, oh, it slipped my mind. But he has a beautiful line as well, speaking about how up until that, as long as a person has life, he will always have this kind of struggle, this gham. Okay, now we may think that, look, once I have this, it will all go away. But it will still be there. You know, some people think, oh, once I find the perfect partner, then my life will be beautiful and it'll be amazing. But that once I have the perfect job, then it will be amazing. You know, once I have the and like that, life goes on, you see, with these mini token victories. But the truth is that struggle is part of life. That whole, you know, it's part of being human. It's human, all too human. So I think we don't need to. Sometimes it is troubling. It is, you know, and we all go through it. I go through it. I go through it. People I know truly that would be honest with me, they go through it. I think maybe I feel it calms down a bit. I feel it's not as bad now as it was before when I was going through a lot. So I think it's not something to be afraid of. Okay, and embrace. And when I've been asked for advice, I've said maybe, you see, for me it was about seeking knowledge. Why? Because knowledge will always keep developing. It will always keep, as you are developing. So it's a true companion. You know, whereas if you set a goal on a person, then people may not be, you know, this, like, people, like I said, people say, if I have that, if we're a couple, if I find the perfect partner, then we're awesome. But then you're developing at different stages. So you will then 5 years from today may be a different person. And that couple hasn't moved on. And this is another issue with today's social media. You know, I see on Instagram all these perfect, amazing, you know, the other day I was on Instagram and I saw these, it comes up on your kind of the feed thing. Amazing kind of photos of these couples, and you'll see beautiful pictures of what look like glamorous, amazing couples. And the issue is that really this kind of a lifestyle, the problem with it is it's always fake. Like, and I don't mean that they don't have, I'm sure, I hope that all these couples do have, you know, love and affection. But it becomes about just showing the world. And then you become known as that. But deep down you're struggling. You're struggling with this reality. You're struggling with conflict. You're struggling with your own angst and anxiety. So, yeah, I just feel that, and I kind of feel for sometimes people like that. I see it and I think, damn, this is just this is just a car crash in slow motion. You know, because these things are unsustainable.